The world is hurting right now, and it's time to rise up. As we lift ourselves up in body, mind, and spirit, we can reach out to others and be a light in a sea of darkness. Welcome to the Movement for Global Health with your host, Dr. Mary Zennett.
Our guest today is Jim Illick. Jim has served as the Glyconutritional Research Coordinator, and he has worked with Citizens for Health, based in DC. Today, Jim and I are going to discuss a very important message from the Alliance for Natural Health. Since 1992, the Alliance for Natural Health has been on the cutting edge, advocating for sustainable natural health. ANH recently published an action alert stating that the FDA is rejecting consumer access to CBD. This is a complex issue, and we are privileged to welcome Jim Illick. Thanks for joining us today, Jim.
Hello, Dr. Mary. Thank you for having me.
Oh, very much so. Please, let's spotlight, share with our listeners, what is this all about?
Well, CBD is actually a substance that has been studied for the last 50 years or so as it relates to health. And one of the things that you can do is go to pubmed.gov. That's pubmed.gov, and you can do a search on anything there. That's a repository library of all of the research that has been done and published in peer-reviewed international journals. And if you go there, you can do a search on CBD, and you'll find thousands and thousands of papers that are written on CBD. The FDA's argument is that they started research before CBD became a supplement or a food. The counter argument is that foods and supplements are not drugs, and drugs are not foods and supplements. So I think it's important to distinguish what are foods and what are supplements and what are drugs.
That makes sense. And the thing is, there's a lot of fine print that I think this is what concerns me, that the average consumer will not read or understand.
That's correct. There's a tremendous amount of fine print, but I think that what consumers do understand is that they don't want their foods and they don't want their supplements messed with by the FDA just because there's a drug that might be coming out that has CBD in it. Now, the ANH has pointed out that because there is a drug that costs, I believe $32,000 per year to buy, and because that drug has done so much research and so many loopholes to get through to becoming a drug with CBD, that CBD should not be that the substance of CBD should not provide competition for that drug. But I believe that there is only one health application that drug has been approved for. Is that correct?
Yes, Jim, in my reading, it is for a very small subset of seizures, very really severe conditions. And that's what concerns me. I know so many people who take very high quality CBD, and it again, they're not curing, treating, or mitigating disease. I think we want our listeners to know that. The Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act, does it not say that only a drug can claim to cure, treat, or mitigate a disease?
Yeah, that's exactly right. Only a drug is, in fact, in the Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act, which was passed by Congress in 1938, and that's important to know. This has been a law for 85 years now. It's very antiquated, but the FDA has leaned on this law like, you sit on a stool that has three legs on it, and and one of those legs that they use for determining what a drug is that it's defined as that which is intended to, not that which does, but that which is intended to cure, mitigate, diagnose. I got these all in wrong order, but cure, mitigate, diagnose, heal, or what's the other one? Prevent a disease condition. So there are 5 things that a drug is defined as, the intention of doing those 5 things. If you take anything else that steps on those 5 boundaries, you've now stepped on the boundary of transferring your supplement to a drug. So if you've been found to cure, treat, mitigate, prevent, or diagnose disease, your CBD now is not a food and it's not a dietary supplement. It's a drug. Now, I think that it is important to stay within the confines of the law. And the confines of the law don't allow us to go into that place of curing disease. So if there's a health benefit that's found, then we have to say, well, this isn't a cure for a disease. This isn't a treatment for a disease. This is actually doing something different. What's it doing? It's actually going into the body, and the body is utilizing, from the cell structure of the body is utilizing that CBD to feed the cannabinoid cells. So if it goes into the body and feeds the cannabinoid cells, those cells then are designed to allow the body to do what the structure and function of the body is designed to do. It was designed to heal itself. So if you take CBD and you have a beneficial effect, the CBD is not providing that beneficial effect. The CBD is feeding the body what's missing, and the body then provides the beneficial effect. Do you see the difference?
So very much so. The body is doing the work. The body.
Exactly. So you're supporting, and you're allowed to say this according to the Dietary Supplement Health and Education Act. You're allowed to say this is what the structure and function of the body does when it takes foods and dietary supplements. So if you stay within the confines of that and stay away from CBD cures cancer, or CBD cures Alzheimer's, or CBD cures, anything else, if you stay out of that sandbox, so to speak, and you stay within the confines of here's what it does with the structure and function of the human body, you're safe. But the minute that you get into the thing of, oh my goodness, I had cancer and I took CBD and I no longer have cancer, they can't detect it and I'm cured. Well, you've just taken that CBD from a classification of a food into a classification of a drug. And the FDA then says, well, you're competing with our drugs, which cost, I'm not sure, the last I checked was $1.2 billion to get approved and go through the drug approval process to become approved for one disease condition. In this case, it's approved for what?
A very remote type of epilepsy, a very rare type of epilepsy.
So, so that drug is approved for that disease application. Well, that's fine. But there are so many benefits to CBD, and so many people don't understand the fact that when they go from that classification of a food into a classification of a drug, you're stepping on the FDA's toes, and the FDA gets about 60% of the funding from the drug research. Not saying that that's good, bad, or indifferent. That's just where they get the money. So the fact of the matter is that they're going to protect what? Not the foods and not the supplements, but they're going to protect the drugs, because that's where their income comes from. And that's a huge body of people. Now, the FDA is a good organization. It really is. They take care of making sure that our foods are safe, that our drugs are safe, that our supplements are safe. And there's just the natural, whatever you want to call it, progression, I guess you would say, that gets into the what happens with the finances. And the FDA has to function just like anybody else does. They have to have a budget. They have to be able to function inside of that budget. And they don't have enough tax money to be able to make do with that. So they take the money that's formulated from the drug applications, and that's how they function. Just like we function with a business, and the business pays part of our salary. It's really not that different, and it's not to condemn the FDA. It's just understanding that that's what they function with. So it makes it that much more important that we understand and that we promote what a supplement really is, and not step on the drug part of things, because we were talking earlier, the integrative part of health is using foods integrated with drugs. Now, I would challenge anybody that's in the drug industry to eliminate food and supplements from their diet for 90 days. And eliminate water as well, because the water can be toxic, and if you take water and it's toxic, you could die. So we don't want that. We got to study water for 10 or 15 years, and until then, we're going to take water away from the equation, And this is how kind of ridiculous this is, but I would challenge anybody who's in the medical realm that really insists that drugs do this kind of thing, and say, we're just going to take these drugs for the next 15, 20 years, or I'm sorry, for the next 90 days. You take those drugs for 90 days and see where you're at. If you actually survive and are stronger, then hey, those drugs are doing well for your body. Do the same with foods and supplements. Get rid of the drugs, just take foods and supplements for 90 days and see where your body is. Well, your body is going to function a whole lot better, logically, with the foods and supplements than it is with the drugs. The drugs and the supplements and the foods need to work in conjunction with one another rather than in competition with one another. And that's where doctors come in, and that's where I believe that we really need to have more education on the health benefits of foods and dietary supplements in terms of the structure function of the body rather than in terms of disease conditions. I think we have to shift our focus and shift our thinking from disease state to health benefit, according to what the supplements really do to allow the body and to work with the body to heal itself. Does that make sense?
Oh, absolutely, Jim. Yeah, and to unpack, you highlighted so much. Can you, Belle, go back for our listeners' sake to the Dietary Health and Supplement Act and the structure function?
Yes. The Dietary Supplement Health and Education Act was passed in 1994 after a huge campaign of letter writing that was really spearheaded by Citizens for Health and Jim Turner, who just passed away last year, and we're going to miss him immensely. But it was really a movement that the United States wrote to Congress and said, hey, we don't we don't want to interfere with the FDA's thing, but
Mhm.
we want some kind of definition of what a supplement is as opposed to what a drug is, because the FDA was coming in and they were saying, this is the definition of a drug. You can't have
Mhm.
prayer, you can't have, water, you can't have food, you can't have supplements, you can't have anything that interferes with that which is intended to
Mhm.
cure, treat, mitigate, prevent, or diagnose disease conditions.
Mhm.
So the Dietary Supplement Health and Education Act was passed. And when that became law, the 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 education of supplements had to be, if it dealt with a disease condition, you had to keep it separate from the supplements. In other words, you can do all the research all that you want to on supplements, but you
Mhm.
cannot attach that to the sale of a dietary supplement. Okay, so the research has to be detached from the
Mhm.
supplement. That's the first thing. The second thing is you can't make drug claims. You can't make claims that this supplement cures, treats, mitigates, prevents, or heals conditions. But you can make claims that are structure function claims. In other words, CBD, for instance, CBD goes into the body, and the body then has CBD receptors on certain cell structures. And those receptors are, from what I understand, and I'm not a CBD expert by any stretch, but from what I understand, those receptors go to the pain receptors in the body. So, the people who have had benefits from the pain that they can't get any relief from, for instance,
Mhm.
back pain or nerve pain or whatever, they actually are taking the CBD, and in their mind, they're
Mhm.
thinking, the pain is gone. I
Mhm.
mean, this is just incredible. I haven't found anything that's a pain medication
Mhm.
that has taken care of my pain like CBD. But the reality is that the CBD doesn't cause the pain to go away. The CBD feeds the parts of the body that are the pain receptors,
Mhm.
and the pain receptors then go to the areas of the nerve structure. And from, this is again a very elementary understanding, but from my understanding, the nerve endings then are not sending signals to the brain that there is pain here.
Mhm.
So the CBD is actually eliminating the the need for pain medications, so to speak,
Mhm.
and providing. And I'm really, again, not very knowledgeable about this, so a little bit is dangerous. But but that's the difference between structure and function, because the structure of the human body is actually being fed
Mhm.
rather than a medication that goes in and it masks the pain. It tells the brain there is no pain here, and it gives temporary relief for pain.
Well, and Jim, I want to build on that. There is an endocannabinoid system in the body. And this
Yes,
is where it ties into structure function. And it's parallel to our nervous system. So the CBD feeds that, and it's all about balance. They'll talk
yes,
about it. The leading experts say this helps to balance the functions of the body. So when you say structure function, CBD is really, this is a prime example
yes.
of structure function benefits. And
Mhm.
that's why people, like you say, they get relief, but it's not curing, treating, or mitigating a disease.
Okay, and
It's
then take that and let's run with it a little bit, because you have a lot more knowledge on CBD than I do, and the endocannabinoid system in the body. So take that and run with it and just say, okay, what's the difference between CBD and, say, Oxycontin, oxycodone, or any kind of a drug that addresses pain? And why are people getting benefit from CBD, and it's not a drug, it's a supplement? How do we
Well, it's a
differentiate that
structure because it's the structure function of the human body as
precisely?
opposed to a drug that targets a specific chemical reaction in the body, and the brain has all the receptors. So it's targeting, it's a different mechanism of action. But if we stick to structure function, how the body works, then, like I said, CBD fits the description. It's,
Yes.
and I'll be honest with you, Jim, when this came out, when ANH brought this out with a lot of concern, what really hit me is the number of people worldwide that have great benefits from CBD, not to treat any disease, but to help promote their health. And I thought about it. I said, no, we've got all this fine print. Oh, it's a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And who is telling the people? Do people understand that the FDA is now looking for ways to tighten the reins on CBD? Now, ANH brought up a really important point. They go, CBD is not going to be off the market tomorrow. However, they are exploring ways for CBD to be lawfully marketed. And the truth, this is their wording. So what that means is there is a real risk that there's going to be a tightening of access to CBD, prices are going to go up, and access for people is going to be reduced. And Jim, one thing I want to bring up, I was looking at, you mentioned this company that's charging a lot of money for the CBD. It's the first pharmaceutical CBD. And they said the cost approximately be $1,000 a month. Okay, well, $1,000 a month is a lot. And for people, I was looking, there are CBD products, because what the whole argument is, well, it's not regulated. There's a lot of garbage on the market. But we know that there's a lot of top quality products on the market. I was just looking at one, okay? And again, I don't sell CBD. I'm not making any claims, but it's educating. So here's one. Natural, certified organic, free of any THC. That's a big argument for CBD. It's got marijuana in it. No, this doesn't. And there's a lot of top quality products that don't. Non-GMO, good manufacturing practices. Those are the same standards that the pharmaceutical the companies use. High absorption, and guess what? The cost is less than $100 a month. It's more like $79 a month.
Yeah.
So, and there are other products like this.
Yes.
So the question is, what will happen to access to those products?
Well, I think that we've seen that in the past. There's been outlawing of glucosamine, not here in the United States, but in some places in Europe, because glucosamine has the same structure function kind of effects, and people were getting health benefits, and that steps on the definition of a drug. There are other things that have been outlawed as well. And I believe that the FDA has determined, according to what I've read, that CBD needs to be outlawed, or that there needs to be some kind of way of putting it into foods and supplements that meets their standards. Now, you're right. It's not going to be taken off the market right away. I don't think that the public outcry would just be horrendous, and they know that. But I think that they are moving in that direction, and I believe that can be curtailed. Number one, by a campaign to write into Congress saying we need Congress, our representatives, to write laws that prevent the FDA, who are unelected, to mandate anything in regards to our foods and dietary supplements. Leave them alone. We like our stuff. We like to be able to choose what we take and choose what we don't take and choose what we buy and what we don't buy. The FDA's argument is that they don't know that CBD is safe. Well, I think that's kind of an invalid argument, but that is their argument. And their definition of safe is to go through the first phase of the FDA drug trials. Can you explain to our listeners, because I think you can do a better job than I can, what it means to go through the safety phase of a drug approval process?
Well, Jim, it's a multi-million-dollar process.
Yes.
And the question is, what supplement would have the revenues to go through something like that? The first thing they do is they say, does this substance have an LD 50, a lethal dose 50? And that means it kills 50% of whatever they test on, mice, insects, all of the above. So the truth is, it's like apples and oranges. We're using this standard for supplements that are, quite honestly, are more based on food. So this is a huge problem. It's like our standards have become outdated. They have not kept up with the technology. So how do we determine that a substance is safe? And the truth be known is, I know the argument of the pharmaceutical company that just got the approval. Oh, there's a lot of CBD that's substandard. Well, maybe the FDA needs to examine all the different types of CBD, and if there's some concerns about the substandard CBD, maybe they can focus on those and leave the top quality alone. And there's a lot of top quality CBD. To be real honest with you, I have to commend the manufacturers. Nobody's pressuring them, but they have spent enormous amounts of money providing top quality products. And you know, Jim, you know, we have spoken about health reform for a long time. To me, it gets to a larger issue, you know, that's currently, this is a very top-down approach. Who's got the big money and who controls the purse strings? But what happened to what health is about? It's about the people.
Exactly.
It is about the health and well-being of people. And I think this is a perfect opportunity to re-engage the public. Listen to them.
Yes.
What are they getting from the CBD? How is it helping them? And most important, what risks? I know many people who take CBD that have absolutely no problem with it. But again, I would say, you know, if it's a higher quality product, yeah, there's a much better chance you're not going to have any problems with it. But I think it is the perfect opportunity. Like they talked about, FDA did say, I'll be honest with you, because I read, you know, some of their position statement, and they talked about a collaborative approach. And what I'll be very honest with you, in the past, because I was involved with advocating for health reform in the state that I was residing in, the people that were invited to the table all had to do with profits.
Right.
They bring big bucks with them. What happened to advocacy for the people? There are consumer groups. There are very dedicated health practitioners there are very dedicated manufacturers. Like I said, they didn't have to spend all this money on this research to formulate a pure product. We almost have to insist that these parties be brought to the table,
Yes.
to have a meaningful conversation about CBD.
Mm-hmm. The issue about safety is kind of a strange issue, because we think of safety in a totally different way than I think the FDA does. And again, I really haven't talked to people from the FDA, so I don't. All I've done is read what their positions are, and it seems that their positions are not based on anybody that got sick or anybody that had a death experience or knows somebody who had a death experience after taking CBD. It seems that their standard of safety, from what I've read again, is based on the fact that, hey, these people could take CBD and not go to their doctors because, you know, they're depending on the CBD to help them rather than the medical system, which is a position that I had shared with you last night when I was reading the papers on the FDA website. That's the closest thing that I could find to the FDA concerns about safety. And their box, so to speak, is really based on one substance for one disease condition, and there are so many different disease conditions that CBD helps, because of the fact that you're dealing with the structure and function of the human body. You're not dealing with just one epilepsy or you know, mental health or cancer or viruses or whatever. You're actually dealing with a whole spectrum of things that the body was designed to overcome when it's given the right nutrition. And that's out of the FDA box. It doesn't fit the FDA paradigm. So when they're talking about safety, they're talking about their paradigm of drug research, which does not fit the food and dietary supplement purview. So there's really not a way to put the foods and supplements into the box of the FDA. How could we? I know that the ANH is working on this, and there's a petition that's been going out that we'll put on the bottom of the screen that we really encourage people to send in and sign to Congress. But how can things move from the FDA drug paradigm to a better standard of making sure that things are safe, and making sure that things are beneficial, and making sure that, you know, there is a quality standard that can be met? How can we get to that place where people can be assured that these supplements or these foods are safe and they're high quality without spending millions of dollars on research to get there?
Well, and I want to mention this, Jim, as a really important question. Okay, millions of dollars of research has been done. That's why the CBD is so significant. I was listening recently, the NFL has spent a lot of money on quality research. Why? Because their players and their retired players get benefits. Again, it's not treating their disease. The players have excellent medical care, but it is supporting the structure and function of their bodies and health. So that's why I think CBD is an example where the dollars have been spent on the research. And you mentioned early in the broadcast, and I want to highlight this for people, PubMed. If you go on PubMed and just Google it, it'll pop right up. You can, and then put CBD. You will see so many research articles, ones that have been done. And that is information that is available to the public.
Yes,
and we talked about this. We want to empower people. You know, they're like, oh, that's the doctor's job. No, no, no. You're the consumer. You're the consumer. We want to raise the bar. I'm not asking you to understand all the nuances, but there's a little summary. The layperson can understand what that summary is saying. I think it's critical, really critical.
It is, and I believe that it's really critical also to, especially for those who market CBD and who put it up for sale, that you can't print off particular papers and say, see, this is really beneficial for this, you know. But you can tell people to go to PubMed, to do their own search for CBD and for whatever their health concerns are. So if you have cancer, put in CBD cancer. If you have Alzheimer's, put in CBD Alzheimer's. If you have schizophrenia, put in CBD schizophrenia. You know, put your own self to work in this PubMed website so that you can get valid, credible information. You put it in Google, you get some valid, credible information and a whole lot of, hey, buy our CBD, it's the best. You know, they don't have that in PubMed. They just have the health benefits that are published medical journals that, again, the public can benefit from. But please, if you're selling CBD, point people to PubMed. Don't print off all the good articles, because the Dietary Supplement Health and Education Act says that you need to present the positive with the negative and not just give it a flowery, you know, I only want people to see this kind of thing. People need the opportunity to read all of the benefits and all of the negative parts as well, and make their own determinations. And they don't need your help to do that. So, not your help, Mary, but the help of the you know,
the manufacturer's help.
The manufacturer's help, or the salesperson's help, or whatever. Let them do their own research, and you'll be doing them a favor. You'll be staying within the law, because the law states that you can provide a library of information, but you can't provide specific things that show them the pluses, only the pluses. You have to show them the whole spectrum, and that way they can get the whole spectrum.
That's right.
So you're within the law to do that. You're not within the law to actually print off and put with the supplement the articles that you want them to see. That is where you cross the line into illegal. But if you do it the legal way, you'll have a customer who really appreciates the fact that you're allowing them to do their own research, and you'll be staying within the law, so that if you do get into trouble, which some people do, you know, with the feds coming in and saying, you know, what do you have for cancer? Well, you know, make that a practice. Go in and make it a practice to say, you go and do your research about, you know, CBD and about other things, whatever you know benefits the body's ability to heal itself of cancer. Go and tell them, you know, go to PubMed and do your own search, come back and tell me what you find. and I'll help you find whatever it is that you want to, whatever it is that you want to buy that you feel is most beneficial. I don't care whether it's broccoli, whether it's, spearmint gum, whether it's water, whether, all of it's there. All of it's there in PubMed. But the salespeople have to get out of the mode of, well, I know this is beneficial because I read this. And they're not a medical professional. They're not a doctor. They're not, they're not to prescribe, and doctors aren't either. Doctors can't prescribe medicine, dietary supplements, or they can recommend stuff, but they can't prescribe stuff. The best way to hit this is through PubMed, as you were describing, doing the search for yourself to find out what it is that is most beneficial for you and your health concerns.
And this is so important. And Jim, we'll come back on other shows and follow up with this, because I think it's such an important issue. What we're doing is we're raising the bar for people, is not just sitting passively, having somebody tell them, like you say, a slanted view. Here, hop on PubMed. Just do some research. You will see, you'll see what you're looking for, and everybody's different. There's no two people alike. So we really want to impress this upon people. Now, I'll be honest with you, for our listeners, many of you know friends and families who, and maybe you do, use CBD on a regular basis. This is a really important time to read this petition, and you'll have it on the show notes below. Read the petition, and you can add to the petition, sign it, and send it to your legislators, to your congressional representatives. And it's critical at this point. The other thing I want to bring up, and ANH has discussed this, there were two bills that did not get passed, but they were actually bills that would help provide a pathway for CBD to have legal protection. Well, if there's a lot of people that are concerned about CBD, this is a great opportunity for these bills to get reintroduced in Congress. The other thing is the Farm Bill. There's a lot that gets added to the Farm Bill, and ANH brought this up. Maybe this is an opportunity for the concerns about CBD to be added into the Farm Bill. So again, this all gets complicated, but what we must do is learn, communicate with our legislators. They are there to represent us. And if you have concerns about possibly losing access to CBD, this is a really, really important time to read, understand, and send those letters to your representatives.
Let me touch on something too. I don't know that all of our listeners will understand who ANH is. That's the Alliance for Natural Health. They're worldwide. They have a branch here in Washington, D.C. They do a lot of talking to our congressmen and our senators and so on for us. And they also have been very, very active in the health freedom movement. That's the Alliance for Natural Health. And there are a lot of organizations in Washington, D.C. This is one that I believe is very, very credible, level-headed, if that's okay to say, and has a lot of respect within the governmental bodies of the Washington, D.C. area. So I think that it's important for, you mentioned Citizens for Health as well. That's a very good organization. Alliance for Natural Health is taking the charge and taking the lead on this CBD. And I think that it's important to link arms with them to allow the public to say, we really have concerns. We want the freedom to be able to continue to purchase CBD as a supplement and as a food, or mixed in supplements and mixed in foods, so that it has the FDA doesn't take that away from us. And I believe that Congress has the power to overturn the direction that the FDA is headed in this regard.
And they've been available. Thank you for highlighting Alliance for Natural Health. The USA, there is a section, Alliance for Natural Health USA, that really takes a deep dive into the laws governing food and dietary supplements. They've been at this since 1992.
Mm-hmm.
They're very calm, as you said, Jim, very calm, level-headed, very analytical, but also very caring. And this is a critical time right now. So we will have the link to the petition. And ANH has stated that they're going to be providing more information about CBD. So what I would hope, Jim, as they do provide more, that we can hop on a recording and get this information out to our listeners as well.
And I think that it's important too to bring up the credibility of ANH. They're not just putting out something that's an alarm that is just to stir up a bunch of people to take a bunch of actions. And you and I check this out for ourselves. We always do before we recommend to anybody. I don't care who it is, but we make sure that what they're saying has credibility. So we went on the FDA website and we saw for ourselves that the FDA is in fact wanting to take CBD out of foods and out of supplements. And I think that it's important to not understate the credibility that ANH has in terms of, I mean, this has been going on with the FDA since at least 2019 and probably before that, that they've wanted to move CBD out of this realm. And I believe that they will move in that direction unless something is done to stop them. And I believe ANH is a credible organization, not only to raise the red flag, but also to get the public involved in terms of sending petitions to Congress and getting the laws changed, which is very, very important for our health and our well-being in terms of foods and supplements.
All right. Well, Jim, thank you again. And for our listeners, this is Jim Illick, and it's been a joy having him here spotlighting this very important issue. And I would encourage all listeners, read the petition. You know, I always say, before you sign, read so you understand what ANH is saying. And there are legal pathways for CBD to get the protection that it needs. But we need our legislators to take action. And I see this as a very nonpartisan issue. This is a people issue. There are so many people who appreciate CBD. And again, focusing on quality products and that, it's separating from, what's not so quality. But we're becoming a more informed population. And that is part of any real health reform. People understanding what they're putting in their bodies, looking at the risks, the benefits, and taking optimal care of themselves.
Absolutely. And thank you, Mary, for your work in this area. I really believe that neither you or I are getting paid for what we're doing in this regard. I am, quite frankly, a truck driver. I have been for Covenant Transport for 8 years. That's where I receive my income. I did not receive income from this aspect of things, but both of us are very passionate because we've seen the power and we've seen the benefits of dietary supplements in the areas that we've worked. And I think that it's important for people to know that we're not doing this for money. We're actually doing this for the good of the American public.
Absolutely, Jim. Couldn't have said it better. So thank you again. We'll plan on circling back as information progresses with the status of CBD and other really important health freedom issues. So
Absolutely. I
thank you
look forward to talking to you again.
And thank you to all our listeners, and be well, and we will talk soon.